The NFL Today presents Countdown to Super Bowl.
The countdown to Super Bowl VI is in its final hour. In a little over a half hour from now, the Miami Dolphins and the Dallas Cowboys will meet head-to-head for the championship of the National Football League. But the only clock that counts now here in Tulane Stadium and in millions of homes throughout the country is the scoreboard clock, which will count down the 15-minute quarters. This all began over 6 months ago when the 26 teams of the National Football League reported to their summer training camps to get mentally and physically ready for the long, tough season ahead. Preseason games began in August, and then on September 19th, referees' whistles blew in 13 stadiums throughout the country, and the long march to New Orleans was on. 14 weeks later, 8 teams went into the playoffs, and 2 weeks ago, 4 of them played for the championship of the AFC and the NFC. We'll take a look at how those games went in just a moment as the countdown to Super Bowl kickoff continues. 2 weeks ago today in Texas Stadium, the Dallas Cowboys defended their NFC title against the same team they had defeated in the previous NFC championship, the San Francisco 49ers. Once again, Dallas coach Tom Landry had a defense which quarterback John Brody could not crack. The game was all but decided on a single play when Brody attempted a screen pass and 6-foot, 6-inch defensive end George Andre was in perfect position to intercept. George Andre's big play led to Calvin Hill's touchdown, and that turned out to be more than enough to win the NFC title for Dallas. While the defense was tough as ever, the Dallas offense was having its problems. And Roger Staubach turned himself loose and took over the game. Roger Staubach bewitched, bothered, and bewildered the 49ers for the rest of the game. The Cowboys won 14-3 and had therefore earned a second chance at Super Bowl gold and glory. Later that day in rain-swept Miami, Don Shula's Dolphins and all-pro quarterback Bob Greasy were ready to dethrone the reigning world champion Baltimore Colts. The first artful stroke was a blackboard perfect play-action pass to all-pro receiver Paul Warfield. This was but the first of many occasions for jubilant Miamians to flutter their flags of victory. Like John Brody, the old master John Unitas could not crack one of the NFL's toughest defensive teams. As in the Dallas game, the biggest play was a sudden and unexpected interception, this time by Miami safety man Dick Anderson. Bob Greasy set up the game's third and last touchdown with another play-action pass to willowy Paul Warfield, one of the most gifted athletes ever to play the game. While Dolphin rooters continue to roar, "We're number one," pro football's leading rusher, Larry Zonka, blasted through a gaping hole and into the end zone for the touchdown that made the score 21-0, sent the crowd into utter ecstasy, and sealed the doom of the reigning world champion Baltimore Colts. In the closing seconds, as the Dolphins' rugged ground attack ate up the remaining time on the clock, the world of pro football witnessed one of its most poignant moments. The old champion was no longer a champion. A new champion had been born, and the final countdown to the Super Bowl had begun. Conference champions had an extra week to prepare for this big one this year. The first part of that week was spent resting up for the championship games, and the second part was spent in workouts, squad meetings, and film sessions. Both the squads arrived here in New Orleans a week ago today, where intensive preparations have been going on. We'll take a look at the key players on both squads and talk with the quarterbacks and the coaches in just a moment. It's said that defense wins football games, and Dallas has one of the best in the league. Their linebacking core has a total of 31 years' experience, and the kind of know-how often results in the big play, like this one by 13-year man Chuck Alley. Since the playoffs, the names of Stanfill and Bonacani are becoming better known, but as yet there are no Miami defensive superstars.
I think Bob Lilly is the greatest tackle that I've seen in football. I don't think I've ever seen a player that does the things that he does automatically when the situation presents itself. I know when I first came to Dallas, I recognized that Bob was a good ball player, a top-notch ball player, but I never even realized that he was the type of ball player you just come by maybe once in a coach's lifetime. I feel that Bob doesn't need a great deal of coaching. Heck, I've learned a lot from Bob.
I think last year we developed a winning attitude, something we probably haven't had. The kind of thing you have to, kind of a mental toughness along with an air of confidence. And after we got whipped pretty bad by St. Louis, it brought us all together. We, at that time, decided we were going out and play football the way we thought it ought to be played and quit pussyfooting around.
Bob is always double-teamed. He's triple-teamed. They hold him. They tackle him. They pull him down. And if you watch closely in a game, there's hardly ever there's one man that'll block Bob.
If you look mean on the field, that's because you are mean. And some guys are meaner than others. That doesn't necessarily make them better football players, but some people are just meaner than others.
Dwayne Thomas, a superb rusher, is already being hailed as the next Jim Brown. Off the field, he is being criticized in the media for his steadfast refusal to talk to all but a few close friends.
He's a very intelligent young man. He's aware of, what's happening, not only football, but the country, the Far East. I mean, you can talk to him about anything if he likes you. I think he thinks that he's right in doing what he's doing, that he's paid just to play football and just to be quiet rather than to get misquoted.
Wide receiver Bob Hayes has been hampered this year by injuries and the increased use of the zone defense. But with his speed and experience, he is always a threat.
People fail to realize that when you find a zoning team, they're not 100% a zoning team. They're about 80, and sometimes, that other 20% you can drop the bomb.
All around, I think that we'll be going against one of the greatest receivers as far as running and blocking in Paul Warfield. But if I had to have a home run ball, I'd still pick Bob Hayes.
Warfield is one of the greatest receivers ever to play football. I really admire him. I think that all the honors that he's getting, he deserves them because he's a great athlete.
He's been a great asset to us after he catches the ball, making the big run, the big play.
Whatever success I've had has been because I've pretty much stuck to the fundamental things that have been successful for me over the years. I think you gear everything to be exactly right when it comes 1:30 Sunday afternoon.
Miami's 1-2 rushing punch is supplied by fullback Larry Zonka, number 39, and halfback Jim Kick, who is also a receiving threat. The relaxed, easygoing manner off the field is matched by a daring approach on it.
We always would talk about where the possibility might be in a certain play, where it might break, but they're always looking, and when they see the opening, they know how to pick it. And sometimes it doesn't look like the play we called in the huddle, but when they get yardage, we just let them go.
Jim Kick and Larry Zonka, also known as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. There are so many outstanding football players on these two Super Bowl teams that it would be impossible to enumerate all of them in this short pregame show. Not only that, but in about 3.5 hours, it may turn out that the hero of the day is one of the lesser-known players. At any rate, at this point, just before kickoff, those sharing the biggest responsibilities are the two quarterbacks, Roger Staubach and Bob Greasy, and their head coaches, Tom Landry and Don Shula.
Of course, Roger Staubach is probably the big reason we're in the Super Bowl, first of all. Of course, he's had a great year throwing the football, and when he does scramble, of course, he's probably the best running quarterback that is in the league. You'd follow Roger anywhere. I mean, this is probably the biggest trait he has. he's such a dedicated person. He works so hard at the game to be the best that you can't help but, want to be just like him.
If you say, Rod, you got to win this game yourself, you don't have 21 other players out there to help you, he'd say, okay, I can do it.
So I've tried to make them think that, that I'm at ease, which I am, because I've got all the confidence in the world in them. I'm surrounded by a great football team, which puts me at ease. And right now, as a professional, there's no substitute for winning. You must win to be successful. And I am probably my wife terms a poor loser. It's hard to judge in most of your games how players are going to react. But in this game, our team is going to play the very best they can. And if that's not enough, we'll figure out another way to win.
Well, I don't think it'd be any different than it has been. I don't know why it should be.
He has the ability to throw the ball well, both short and long. But I think the fact that he is a fine athlete, coupled with his intelligence and his dedication to the game, make him just an outstanding quarterback.
Everything in perfect order, you might say. And I think this somewhat carries over into his football because when he plans, he likes to look at things thoroughly when we plan against an opposing team. I think that it took us about 1 year before we could communicate very well as a pair working together. Last year, I had to adjust to his very quick release.
Since we have been in the playoffs, it's been looser. The guys are kidding each other more and more, and in the meetings, it's even looser than it has been during the year. I think there was so much pressure during the season that we wanted to get in the playoffs and we wanted to do well, and I think that was the heavy brunt of the pressure. And now that we're in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl, I think this is more like a reward.
Now I think when you play the two big playoff games, which are just like Super Bowls in themselves, you're prepared for the type of pressure and the tension that you have in the Super Bowl.
As far as we're concerned, now we're the football team. The Dolphins are the football team that nobody has heard of. All of a sudden, we're in the Super Bowl, and I sort of enjoy that side of the coin.
I think the first time you ever get the Super Bowl, you don't believe it, because you have to be a great team, and then you have to be awful lucky, because there's about 6 or 7 teams that should be here too, maybe, that aren't here right now, and so we're very fortunate to be here. But I think the second time you come in, then it's a little different. You've been there before, and you're a little calmer in the early part of the week, but when game comes around, you're going to be just as high again.
This is my second chance now to get to be 500 in Super Bowls. And, there is a lot of pressure because I certainly don't want to be a coach that's lost 2 Super Bowls. I'd like to be a coach that after this ball game is 50-50 in the opportunities that we've had. The unique thing is that it's with a different football team. The Baltimore Colts 1 year, and now with the Miami Dolphins.
Pressure can be a distraction, and this is the thing that we concern ourselves about. In a game this big where you work so hard and you work so long to get here and play a game like this, the pressure has to be here, and you feel it. And whether we feel it early in the week or not, we feel it by game time. There's no question about that. And the main thing you try to do is to not let it break your concentration.
What a story this has been, Ray, the way that our football fans have gotten behind this team. And it's something that I'll always remember. I walked down the line after a couple of receptions, I know, with tears in my eyes.
I don't feel that I'm unemotional. I think the thing that people see when I'm on the sideline is I'm very involved in the ball game. I'm concentrating very much. I don't believe anybody can concentrate and be a cheerleader.
Our football team has been a group of people that have really fought and scratched to try to get there.
We have been really unemotional in winning the last 2 games against great teams like Minnesota and San Francisco. We were delighted, but it didn't show because we still have the sting of defeat in the final minute of the Super Bowl last year, and we'll never get rid of it until we rectify it.
In the sports television business, the pressures aren't quite as intense as they are on head coaches and players, but they're there nevertheless. And the countdown for CBS to this year's Super Bowl began several months ago in New York, and it's increased in activity ever since. We're going to show you some of the men behind our Super Bowl cameras and some of them in front of them as the countdown to Super Bowl kickoff continues. Well, Tom Brookshire and Pat Summerall will be surrounded by the victorious people in either the Miami or the Dallas locker room in just about 3 hours. Aside from the 100 television people down here to cover this Super Bowl, 1,400 members of the press are here, and they've been turning out millions of words of copy all week. Now, to check up on the tidal wave of publicity and how it has affected the rest of the country, we conducted a man in the street survey. And we'll be seeing the results of that survey in just a moment. as countdown to Super Bowl kickoff continues.
I think it presents the classic match between the underdog and an NFL old team.
No question, Dallas.
Well, I really like Miami, and I like the two running backs from Miami, Zonka and Kick.
Plus, Dallas has always lost the big games.
Oh, I thought it was fantastic.
Hasn't been played yet.
Oh!
Bob Greasy, I think he's a very smooth player.
A smooth player. He's
Very
also
good.
a very nice-looking guy.
You better believe it.
I think they'll win because Roger Staubach has such cute legs.
Well, I figure Cowboys will take it about 10 points at least.
2 words. They're great, fantastic.
When you go down the street, you see little kids dressed up in their Paul Warfield uniforms and in their Bob Greasy uniforms, and it's great. It really is. Because Miami needed something like that to get it all together.
The Cowboys.
I think Miami will. You think Miami will? Well, thank you very kindly for stopping by. Who do you think's going to win? Super Bowl. The football game.
I have no idea. I mentioned you here.
Dallas. I think Dallas. Dallas.
Dallas going to knock them naked.
Why do you say Dallas?
Why do I say Dallas? Well, the president didn't coach them.
Quite frankly, I don't care who wins the Super Bowl. Just so they get the season over with, then perhaps I'll get some attention from my husband again.
Miami, because of they have the best receiver in football in Paul Warfield.
I like them both.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know too much about it, but I think Miami.
You've just heard that Miami's going to win it.
My boyfriend says Miami.
Oh, premium, yeah.
Do you think that's going to tell the difference in the game?
Yeah. It'll be his field goal that wins the game.
I like the Texas teams.
I could tell. You have a Texas accent.
Yes, I picked it up down there.
Miami, of course. Dead certainty.
The Dolphins.
Well, I got my fingers crossed, hoping Miami will win.
I think Dallas will beat Miami. That's my opinion, though. I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
Okay, gotta go back to work now.
Okay. I think Dallas will do it to them if they can contain Kick and Zonka and that wide receiver they got. If they can hold them down, I think they'll win the game. Otherwise, Miami will run right over them.
I think they're terrific.
You think they're terrific? Do you know who's playing?
No, I don't. I don't know nothing about it.
Do you know what the Super Bowl is?
I heard it. Doesn't it come from California?
Maybe Dallas. I think it's great. I'm putting my money on Dallas.
Dallas, they've been in there how many times already? They haven't won yet, you know? And I think they're just going to go in again and do what they did last year, crumble.
I like the Dolphins.
I believe Miami will win it. Dallas is my choice.
Miami. I'm definitely Miami.
Dallas. All the way.
Why?
Why? They're a better team.
I think it's, I guess the best game of the year.
Miami gonna win it.
Great. Great. Can't wait to see it.
Super Bowl is super.
We try to include in that survey a resident of Washington, D.C., a prominent citizen who lives on Pennsylvania Avenue, but he was understandably very busy. And besides, he's already given his preference and put in a play to change the game plan. Well, we hope President Nixon and all of his constituents will enjoy this game coming up. Well, we have about 13 minutes to go now, and we'll have a final word as countdown to Super Bowl kickoff continues.
Of the Elizabeth City State. At right tackle, number 74, Bob Lilly of Texas Christian.
One of the truly great linemen ever to play this game of pro football.
And at right end, number 66, George Andre of Marquette.
Man who made such a big play against San Francisco in the NFC Championship game.
Now the linebackers. At left linebacker, number 52, Dave Edwards of Auburn.
Dave always on the strong side of the Dallas defense. Tough against the run.
The middle linebacker, number 55, Leroy Jordan of Alabama.
Man who led the Cowboys this year in tackle.
The right linebacker, number 54, Chuck Howley of West Virginia.
The Miami Dolphins have tremendous respect for him.
The left cornerback, number 26, Herb Adderley of Michigan State.
Man who's played in more Super Bowls than anyone else. This is fourth.
At the right cornerback is number 20, Mel Renfro of Oregon. The strong safety is number 34, Cornell Green of Utah State. And the free safety, number 43, Cliff Harris. And you're going to help me with that one, Pat.
That is Washita, College in Arkansas. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Tom Landry, and the rest of the members of the Dallas Cowboy team, the champions of the National Football Conference. And now our attention will be turned to the other corner of the field, the starting offensive unit of the American Football Conference champion Miami Dolphins. Wide receiver, number 42, Paul Warfield of Ohio State. Next to him, the left tackle, number 77, Doug Crusan of Indiana. He'll have the job of blocking George Andre. Number 67, the left guard, is Bob Kuchenberg of Notre Dame. And what a challenge he faces this afternoon, facing the great Bob Lilly. The center, number 61, Bob DeMarco of Dayton. A man who has solidified this Miami offensive line, former All-Pro of the St. Louis Cardinals. And at right guard, you will see number 66, Larry Little of Bethune-Cookman. And this is a man that many consider to be the best offensive guard in all of pro football. The right tackle, number 73, Norm Evans of Texas Christian. One of the original remaining Dolphins. The tight end will be number 80, Marv Fleming of Utah. This is his third Super Bowl. He played in 2 with the Green Bay Packers. At wide receiver for the Dolphins, number 81, Howard Twilley of Tulsa. A pattern receiver who doesn't have great speed, but very reliable. Now the running backs, number 21, Jim Kick of Wyoming. Part of the tandem that blocks so well for each other, along with his fullback, this man right here. And here he is, number 39, Larry Zonka of Syracuse. And the quarterback of the Dolphins, number 12, Bob Greasy of Purdue. And then we'll see the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Don Shula. There he is, and the rest of his Miami Dolphin team. Just prior to the reenactment of the coin toss, we would like to make mention of our officials for the game. The referee is Jim Tunney. The umpire, Joe Connell. The head linesman, Al Sabato. The line judge, Art Holst. The back judge, Ralph Vandenberg. The field judge, Bob Wortman. And we have alternate officials here today, Bernie Ullman and Tony Sacco. And as our captains, and I don't think we have enough time to run down all of them, Pat. I was just checking out the Dolphins. They have 5 men out there, including Nick Buoniconti, their fine middle linebacker. Bob Greasy's the man just backing away right there. And the Cowboys also with about 5 or 6 captains for this game. Herb Adderley's the man closest to you. And Jim Tunney, our referee, indicates that the Dolphins won the toss and have elected to receive. We watch the Cowboys with Tom. Now we will have a march to the flag. Saluting the colors of the United States, members of the 5th U.S. Army, Fort Sam Houston, Texas, with the garrison flag, the United States Marine Corps Silent Drill Team from Washington, and men from the United States Navy and Coast Guard based in New Orleans. Our national anthem will be sung by the United States Air Force Academy Chorale, directed by James Roger Boyd. We will also see a double flyover of Phantom jets from the 33rd Tactical Fighter Wing based at Eglin Air Force Base at Fort Walton Beach in Florida. When our Phantom jets appear, by the way, they will be in what is known as the missing man formation, to remind all of us of our men who are missing or captured in Southeast Asia. We ask that you remember them in your thoughts or prayers. 2 flights of 4 each Phantom jets. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
Stripes and bright stars.
jets from Eglin Air Force Base disappear over the horizon here in New Orleans, what's the latest information you have concerning any possible changes in personnel because of injury for either team?
Just about absolutely none. Both teams are healthy. Neither team really has made any changes, with the one exception of Calvin Hill. Walt Garrison will start at running back for the Dallas Cowboys. Hill, as you probably know, re-injured his knee in the playoff game, the championship game, NFC championship game against San Francisco, and he probably will not play.
Of the National Football League, winner of the Vince Lombardi Trophy, and the man they say is unemotional, Tom Landry, the only coach the Cowboys have ever had. Tom Landry, a most happy man, is carried off the field by his players. And of course, in a moment of victory and exultation like this, we must think of Don Shula, who is coming over. There's Don. We must think in terms of Don Shula, the brilliant coach of the Miami Dolphins, who has now twice brought a team to the Super Bowl. Once the veteran Baltimore Colts to lose to the New York Jets. And now, as the coach of the young Miami Dolphins, has seen his team lose to those Cowboys who are now headed to the dressing room. And as we told you before, we all have questions about this game. Was there a turning point? Can there be in a game won by a score of 24-3? We think in terms of perhaps that earlier fumble, whatever. And shortly we'll be visiting the dressing room of the Dallas Cowboys, and will of course also be in the Miami Dolphin dressing room too. Jack Whitaker and Tom Brookshire will be in those contrasting locker rooms. Pat Summerall, as we told you, is on his way there now to join, we believe, Tom Brookshire in the Dallas Cowboys dressing room. The wait to join our colleagues will be very short. In just a moment, we'll tell you of that. Right now, we remind you that that's the end of the game and the final score. The Dallas Cowboys 24, the Miami Dolphins 3. And what a performance we saw today here in Super Bowl VI by the Dallas Cowboys. We mentioned earlier that all of us, as we watched the game, whether from our vantage point here in CBS television, you watching from wherever you were today, what were the turning points? Who made the big plays in the opinion of the men who played the game and the men who coached the game? There is the dressing room of the Dallas Cowboys. For the Cowboys, it has been so very long, and we would be out of bounds to try and list all of the disappointments that have come their way. In many cases, the criticism that has come their way as a team that could not win the big game. They have been ever so close, ever so close. And today they have reached the threshold and have climbed the pinnacle. Our executive producer today has been Bill Fitz. Produced by Chuck Milton, our director, Tony Verna. Thank you, gentlemen. Players continue to arrive in the Dallas dressing room. Number 74 there, Bob Lilly, acclaimed by so many as perhaps the finest defensive lineman ever to play the game of professional football. What did one of the players say? I want interviewed? Remember now, when we visit the dressing room of the Cowboys in a moment, we'll be visiting the dressing room of a team that set a new record for rushing in the Super Bowl, surpassing a record that had been established by the Green Bay Packers. 252 yards, I believe, is the new mark. And I believe also that I have received in second-hand fashion the word that the man deemed to have been the most valuable player in today's game, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, Roger Staubach. And what a story that is. When he was originally drafted by the Cowboys, strictly on a long shot, you'd have to say, a lot of people said, how foolish could they be? Well, he directed this attack today that has been almost awesome as the Cowboys rolled to a 24-3 victory before an in-person capacity crowd here at Tulane Stadium in New Orleans. Earlier we mentioned our colleague Tom Brookshire, And Tom is standing by right now. Tom?
Hello, everyone. They've called the Dallas Cowboys an unemotional team, and you can't believe the bedlam in the world champions dressing room of the Dallas Cowboys. A great win, certainly a team win by these guys that are having a ball. We're going to be back to talk with all of the Dallas Cowboys, the world champions. The commissioner, Pete Rozelle, of all of football, will present the very fine trophy, of course, the Vince Lombardi trophy to the world championship team. We're back with the world champions, the Dallas Cowboys, in just a moment. With the Dallas Cowboys, the commissioner of football, Pete Rozelle, is going to talk to the only coach the Dallas Cowboys have ever had, Tom Landry, and the great player, Commissioner Rozelle.
Tom and Bob, your franchise was formed the year I became commissioner in 1960. So I guess I've taken more or less a special interest in watching its development. You've been thereabouts many times in recent years, and I know what today must mean to you. And I think it's particularly fitting that one of the clubs that you had some great championship games with, the Green Bay Packers, we now have our trophy named after their former coach and general manager. So I'd like at this time to present to you, on behalf of the league, the Vince Lombardi Memorial Trophy, symbolic of your great Super Bowl win today. Congratulations, Bob.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Well, one thing I can say, Commissioner, is I'm delighted that we're all still here after the start of the franchise. But, you know, the way I feel right now is hard to describe. We've fought so long and been so close so many times, but I think my greatest delight is to see a guy like Bob Lilly and Chuck Howley, and the guys who have been with us so many years through the lean years, have a chance at this moment. And I think Bob and all of them deserve it, really do.
Well, of course, it's been a long road, and I think probably only Chuck Howley and myself as players know how long the road has been. But a lot of these other guys have come and been through all these championships that we've just missed, and it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I can't express my feeling right now. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much, Bob. Tom, for just a moment, except for a couple of very momentous plays, 66, 67 championship games, perhaps you would have been the dynasty of the 60s as well when you lost two tough games. Does that even make it more important that now you and Bob Lilly are matched up with this great trophy in the name of Mr. Lombardi?
Well, I think it is. Of course, I think that when we met the Packers, we met one of the great teams of all time, the Green Bay Packers, and we were delighted just to be in against them, even though we gave them a scare a couple of times. But hopefully, maybe we've reached our point in history right now, and maybe we can go on from here.
But it's a good team for years to come?
Well, let's hope so. We think we're good now, and hopefully we'll stay together.
Right. Robert, is that about the way you feel about it?
Well, of course, I feel like I just lost 2 years of my age. You know, I think I'm back down to 29 again now. So I'm ready to go again, but it's fantastic. It's great.
Okay, congratulations, and thank you very much, Commissioner, all right? Bob Lilly, the great captain, and, of course, the leader for the Dallas Cowboys, and Coach Tom Landry, and, of course, the symbolic great matchup here is the Vince Lombardi Trophy. We'll be back with the world champions in that Dallas dressing room in just a moment. We're back in Bedlam City, the Dallas dressing room. Clint Murchison, along with Tom Landry, as the owner, you've been with the Dallas Cowboys all the way to
12 years, and it's a successful end to our 12-year plan.
Do you like the way they professionally just went out and played football today, even though it was a big one?
Thought it was great.
Let's hear it for the owners, right?
All right. Listen, we've had a lot of thick. I'm glad to have a little thick here now.
What does this say? Bobby Hayes eats tamale pie.
Yeah, my restaurant in New York.
Okay, thank you very much, Clint Murchison. Congratulations again. Owner. Now to Pat Summerall. I think he has a football player down there, Pat.
And a pretty good football player, too. This is the quarterback, Roger Staubach, who did such an outstanding job again today after leading this Cowboy team through the second half of the year. Roger, must be a great thrill to you.
It's tremendous. You know, you start out in July, you work like crazy, and we were down and out at 4-3, and we've had the ability. The team was there, and all of a sudden we just turned it around, and it's a tremendous thrill, especially when you're 4-3 and come back and win the Super Bowl, and it's everything that an athlete wants.
What do you think turned it around?
Well, there's a lot of factors. As I say, the team's ability was here. We were 4-3. We just decided to play football, and we played them 1 week at a time. We didn't worry about anything but the next Sunday, and that's a big factor. You've got to worry about the job at hand, and fortunately we did, and we took them one at a time, and we ended up here in good old New Orleans and with a victory today.
How about this team you beat today, the Miami Dolphins? Did they do anything unexpected as far as you as a quarterback are concerned?
No, they played their zone defense. They were double teaming the wide receiver, and fortunately we had a few key third down plays. We kept the ball
course, on the ground. I think we had over 200 yards rushing,
Right,
which
Super
is
Bowl record.
which we need. When the Cowboys are running the football, everything else opens up, and we're an explosive offensive team, and we've got to run the football. Passing is much easier when that happens, and today we were running, we were blocking, and it opened up other things for us, and that was the key to the game.
I got the impression early in the game that you were having difficulty picking up secondary receivers, that because possibly they were doubling on the outside, that you were pulling the ball down a lot.
Well, that's true. I give Coach Landry a few gray hairs now and then. I miss some receivers, but again, I really have to look at the film, and I've done this in the past.
I didn't say you missed him. I said it looked like you had trouble finding him.
Yeah, I did miss him, just looking downfield, and I'm sure that people were open, but again, we hit some key third downs there. A big play. Lance caught the ball there in that first touchdown drive that we had, and Bob made a good move on that first series, caught the turn in there. So we had some big third downs, and fortunately our defense was great again, and we moved the ball on the ground. So I'll tell you, this is a happy, emotional Dallas Cowboy football team.
What are you going to do tonight?
Well, my wife and family and her family's here. We're just going to, relax, talk about it, and go to a team function, and I'm just thankful, thank the Lord and everybody else that, we had a successful football season.
Roger, I know it's pretty early to talk about this, but you must pattern what's going to happen to you now from this offseason and in future years. What are you going to do as far as football is concerned? You might be tired of it right now in the offseason.
Well, I think an athlete, if he becomes complacent, he'll get, knocked on his head, and I'm going to work harder this offseason. There's a lot of things I have to learn, and I'm looking forward to, the offseason. I'll start working out very hard in March and relax. I'm involved with, Aurora and also some commercial real estate, so I've got some good things going, and but I'm going to start working out again in March.
You'd like to call the plays yourself?
Well, this is something I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on film, and I would. I think to be a complete quarterback, you've got to have complete control of your offense, and of course, when you're 10-0, it's going to be hard to convince Coach Landry that I'm going to call the plays.
I guess it is. Roger, congratulations to you on being a world champion.
Thank you, Pat.
It's a great thrill, I know.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more from the dressing room of the world champions in just a moment.
Herb Adderley, and Herb, we were just talking to Roger Staubach, Pat Summerall was over there, and he's going to go in and receive the Bert Bell Award back at the Maxwell Club in Philadelphia, and you'll be able to see him again. But can I talk to you about the ball game a little bit?
Certainly.
Defensive football?
Certainly.
You were a little surprised about the Dolphins being a different team than you expected going in. Herb, how can you explain that?
Well, we knew that they were a young, competitive team with, one of the greatest wide receivers in the game in Paul Warfield, and we didn't think that Paul Warfield could beat us alone. They're going to have to establish their running game with their two running backs, first of all, and we went into the game trying to shut off the run, and then we do the best we could with Paul Warfield.
All right, can you speak for now, of course, Mel Renfro and yourself, too, the two cornerbacks. Did you have inside help on Paul no matter where he went? Did you always have somebody get him on the bump inside?
Well, we have a free safety, Tom, and he's always free. And what he does is play the quarterback and just roam around back there, and like we double team the XM, which is the tight end if necessary, to get the job done.
All right, now, looking for just a moment, the only time they really moved the ball was when Coach Landry and Ernie Stoughton and the group came with the prevent defense just before the half. It looked like they split you a little bit. Warfield made a couple of big catches. Why the prevent if you were holding them with your normal defense?
Well, I don't know, Tom. I can't answer it. Maybe it's because time was running out and the coaches was thinking that they would put the ball in the air and that if we had more men on the field, we'd be able to control it. But I thought that we were doing all right with just the four regular defensive backs, the linebackers, and our front four. But you can't second-guess the coaching staff.
Herb Adderley, you've been in great ball games before, but I don't think anything's more satisfying than being a member of the Dallas Cowboys today, buddy. Good luck to you.
Hey, thank you, Tom.
Herb Adderley, one of the great cornerbacks in all of football, and he's still at it after 11 big years, right?
Hey.
Okay. Let's go right now to the losing locker room. The Miami Dolphins coach with Jack Whitaker right now.
Thank you, Tom. Don Shula, general manager and coach of the Miami Dolphins, and we'd like to thank you for sharing what can't be a very pleasant moment for you right now, Don, but I think your fans in Miami and across the country would kind of like to know what you're thinking.
Well, this is, of course, a bitter disappointment, and I think all of us are more disappointed in the fact that we never really challenged them. And I think all of us are more disappointed in the fact that we never really challenged them in the ball game. They pretty much controlled it and did what they had set out to do. They ran with the ball against us, had a great day rushing, and of course, we didn't get anything established offensively against them. So for a football team that's come along as far as this football team has in a 2-year period and then to play as poorly as we played in the ball game, it is disappointing. And that's the thing that, of course, now we're going to have to live with and hope that we can learn from it. And we are a young football team and hope that we're back. The only way now that you can ever be happy is to win the Super Bowl. Just winning X number of games isn't enough. You have to get back in the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, and this is, of course, what we're going to try to do.
Would you say one of the first tasks, if it is a task, that you'll have to tell these boys is that not to dwell on the defeat here today, but the experience they might have learned?
I think so. The important thing is that you walk away gaining something from the ball game because, as I mentioned, we didn't play well, and Dallas didn't. They played a perfect ball game, and all the credit to Tom Landry for the great job that he did and for their football team. Their offense, their defense, it was a complete game. They never made an error in the ball game until Calvin Hill fumbled in the last few minutes of the game when, of course, the game was already over. But it was a near-perfect ball game for them, and they came up with it when they had to, and we didn't.
How did you feel your ball club was mentally coming in here today?
Well, I thought that we certainly were ready. We'd worked real hard in Miami and then had a good week's practice down here. And, of course, the only way that you can judge whether or not you're ready is how you perform, and we certainly didn't perform.
Well, you've certainly made them a known team. They're a household word now, and a lot of good seasons ahead.
Well, these are the things that we're still going to remember. The good things. The Kansas City victory was a great victory for this football team, and then of course the AFC Championship game against the Colts when we knocked the defending world champs out of it. So we've got some things to be proud of, and we will. We'll be proud of the good things, but hopefully we can learn from this and walk away with something.
Thank you very much, Don Shula. Don Shula in the Miami dressing room. Now let's go back to Tom Brookshire.
Thank you very much, Jack. There's no tougher place than being in the loser's dressing room, and I'll tell you one thing, Don Shula didn't have to apologize for that ball club. They are scrappy, and they hit, and they just kept coming. I have with me two of the offensive performers for the Cowboys, two of the great ones, John Nyland, the great guard on my left, and, of course, Rapid Robert Hayes, who is just about as fast getting out of his jersey and pads as he is on the field. But just for a moment, Bobby, let me step over. John, early in the ball game, I thought that Miami went with sort of an odd man front, and you guys began to send Garrison and Dwayne Thomas through this. Do you like to play it when they come with the guy on the center's nose?
Well, Tom, we anticipated the odd man line. It wasn't anything that we didn't anticipate from the standpoint of just running over the center. Bonacani is a catalyst to their defense, whether it be odd or 4-3 or an even type of defense. And we were very confident in running, and we did extremely well in the first half of running to the weak side and the outside and inside all over, it seemed like. And Bonacani, as I said, we had to control him, and that was Dave Mander's job or Blaine Nyes or myself, and we kind of really went on his reaction. He would over-pursue the play, and we'd break back. The backs, Walt Garrison, Thomas, and Hill, of course, they set up the blocks for us, so it wasn't anything fantastic on our part. We just did our job, and we anticipated their movements.
John, the way you Cowboys approached this game, a lot of people said you were cold and relentless and all that, but I saw you with your lady over in Moran's having a nice dinner. You didn't look like you were too worried, but I had a feeling you were already getting ready. You were a little bit stern then.
Well, Tom, to be perfectly honest, I think we've been ready since last January. We worked extremely hard in the off-season. Every one of us more or less put forth the effort to make ourselves champions. Now we are the champions. We've met defeat, and therefore I think it's kind of a great tribute to this whole team, all 40 men that have worked extremely hard along with our coaches. We had a goal, and that was to be champions, and now we are.
John, not on you're a gentleman. I don't know how the defensive lineman would feel about that, but you do a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Number 76, Big John Nyland. Robert, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, Tom. How are you?
It's been a long time getting up here for the real big one, right?
That's right. I come here in '65 with the Cowboys, and they've been basically the Cinderella team of pro football, and there couldn't be a greater feeling than this dressing room this afternoon.
Bobby, I don't want to belabor anything. Dwayne Thomas is a super football player, one of the greatest natural talents I think that's come in this league in a long time. Could you tell that Dwayne was going to come out and really have the sparks going today? Did you notice anything prior to the game?
Yes, Dwayne's been working extremely hard all week, and Dwayne's an individual that worked himself up for a ball game. This week, Dwayne was together. They just did everything perfectly and workouts, no fumbles, no drop passes or anything. And mentally, I figured that Dwayne was ready to play football. And honestly, I think that Dwayne is the premier running back of pro football, and I think that a lot of people see him a lot of times, and I feel that Dwayne continue playing, he's going to tear a lot of holes in people.
Thomas up here in just a moment. Jimmy Brown, good to see you, buddy. How you doing?
Right.
The great JB, number 32. You've been over a lot of them, Jim. Just for a moment, Bobby, too. This is a little different than the last time at the loss in Green Bay when you had almost frostbite and some things. A little bit warmer today anyway, right? And the right result?
Like I said, when you went in one of the dressing room, it's a greater feeling being a loser. And I must say that, I've been a world champion before. But I think that this is one of the greatest feelings I ever had in athletics. And I would just particularly think that it's not only an individual me running track being a world champion, it's also 40 other guys, and I think it's a tribute to everybody who's in Dallas who represents them.
Bobby, you're not only a super player, you know you're a super guy, and you did great on that comedy bowl. You look great.
Well, you know, nobody's perfect.
Bobby Hayes, still the world's fastest human in my mind. I'll tell you that. Thank you very much, Bobby. Dwayne, how are you?
All right.
My name's Tom Brookshire.
All right.
And it's nice to talk to you. And behind you is a fellow that used to run over me for a living, the great Jimmy Brown. How are you, Jim?
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Dwayne, you do things with speed, but you never hurry. A lot like the great Jim Brown. You never hurry into a hole. You take your time, make a spin. You still outrun people. Are you that fast? Are you that quick, would you say?
Evidently.
Really, I saw a couple of times. I know one time John Nyland was leading the sweep, and he didn't get a good block on it, and the fellow was in good position, and you just simply stepped around him and turned it up the sidelines. And Jimmy, maybe you can answer it for us. He does have better speed than it appears, don't you think, a little bit?
Well, actually, Dwayne Thomas is probably the most gifted runner in football today. He's big and he has great speed. It's very obvious, but he has fantastic moves. And I think that he's probably as smart as any football player playing today. So that combination is, you know, fantastic.
It is great to do. Dwayne, people don't know you, and I know this is sort of a tight situation.
Are you nervous, Tom?
I'm nervous. I mean, if you get the interview, I'm nervous. But do you like football? You must like this game, because they tell me in practice you run further than anybody else with the ball and all. You must like the game of football, do you?
Yeah, I do. That's why I went off in pro ball, you know. That's why I am a football player, so that's why I have to live with it.
Tell you one thing, you're some kind of a football player. Pat Summerall commented during the game that he thought you might be bigger than 205. Is 205 accurate, or are you going about 215?
It all depends on what I need.
You mean you wear different weights for different games?
Yeah. Tom, could I say one thing before you go on? Dwayne consented. He feels good today. I think he wanted to win the Super Bowl. He wanted to play football. He wanted to come back and show the American public that he is a good football player. I think that has been accomplished. I think his silence have enabled him to do this, I think, because there was no controversy involved. There was no conflict with his teammates or his coaches. Right. And I think he should be commended for this. But I don't think he wants to say any more at this particular time. But I think he did want the American public to know that he is a football player and that he did want to win the Super Bowl.
Very good, Jimmy. I'll tell you something else. Dan Reeves says that you make adjustments on your own that are fantastic. You're a good, smart football player, too. And Dwayne, thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Here?
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Dwayne Thomas, one of the great running backs. And we're glad it was done here. He broke the silence. We'll be back in this dressing room with the world champion Dallas Cowboys in just a moment.